We're still marveling at the talents of Lenny in our previous interview.
Talented man in baseball.
We're going to get right back to JP Morosi on this day as we're less than 3 weeks away from Hall of Fame Day, and JP has made his ballot public. For the first time, we are learning who John Paul Morosi is voting for in the class of 2024. Take it away, JP.
Wow.
Thank you, Matt and Harold. Well, actually, I was just planning to retire after the Lenny Randle segment because I don't think I could ever do anything on TV that's as cool as that. I mean, I'm ready to just walk off on that one. But we will continue here with the Hall of Fame ballot, of course, just a few weeks away from Hall of Fame Election Day. And yes, I have filled out, submitted, and mailed in my ballot yet again. 10 names on it, as I always have. And here they are: Beltran, Beltre, Helton, Hunter, Jones, Mauer, Rollins, Sheffield, Utley, and Wagner. Now, I'll take you through a bit of my philosophy before we get into the individual arguments. I am a 10-name-a-year guy, a big Hall guy. I believe that we enrich the Hall of Fame and the culture of our national pastime by honoring people in Cooperstown. I tend to think that we do well when we have a stage that has multiple inductees and we celebrate the game in that way. We draw people to this amazing place in Cooperstown that way. So I'm a big Hall guy. I am. Now, I realize that others disagree with that, and I find that we balance each other out quite nicely in that regard. The final year, of course, for Gary Sheffield. I believe that he has been overlooked for too long, one of the best hitters of our time. I love this about Sheff, too. 300 more walks than strikeouts. I'm going to repeat that. Think about the modern game. Gary Sheffield, 300 more walks than strikeouts, plus 500 home runs. A very deserving Hall of Famer. Adrian Beltre, I believe, has a very good chance to be a first ballot inductee. More than 3,000 hits. And I love this about Adrian Beltre. He did not make his first All-Star team until his 13th Major League season. That's correct. His 13th Major League season with the Boston Red Sox. That 1 year he played in Boston. But he was able to accumulate a resume for the ages. There you see it, 3,000 plus hits. He never won an MVP. And guys, this is one of the things I love about the Hall of Fame. It corrects for some of the oversights with the way that we look at individual players and seasons. To me, it matters not that he did not finish ever with the number one MVP voting. He was able to be part of the conversation, a top 10 honoree multiple times. But this is the capstone on the career for Adrian Beltre, and I believe that he'll find a way to get in on year one. And I'm curious, Matt and Harold, feel free to fire away with more and more questions, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. 10 names on my ballot.
Hey, real quick, before we dissect it even deeper, how different was it not having Bonds and Clemens on the ballot?
It certainly frees up a little more room to consider players, but I would say, Harold, we're now moving into a different era. And yes, while Bonds and Clemens dominated conversation for a while, now we have, and I'll highlight two names that are first time on the ballot this year that speak to this: Mauer and Utley. Two players with a tremendously high peak. In Mauer's case, 3 batting titles in 4 years. In Utley's case, he was one of the defining players on a World Series winning team. Great October success. But in both cases, Mauer and Utley, you do not have long careers. They did not get 3,000 hits. The big counting numbers were not there. So we're moving into a different debate. It is, what do you prefer, longevity or quality of peak? And
see, but I don't think we're there yet, JP. I don't. I don't think those guys, I think they played in the longevity big number era. I think they played where there's 3,000 hits. Today, where we're at today, when pitchers are throwing 5 innings and hitters are not going to play more than 120 games, now we're different. I don't think this group is there yet. That's just my opinion.
I'll also say this, JP. The difference for me, the distinction between Mauer and Utley is this. Joe Mauer won 3 batting titles in a 4-year period as a catcher. Chase Utley was a great player, but nothing Chase Utley did was as impactful during the regular season as what Joe Mauer did in that stretch of his career. I'll repeat, 3 batting titles in a 4-year span as a catcher. Unheard of. I mean, we're talking about Berra, bench, all-time great offensive catcher profiles. Piazza had the power profile, got it. For me, Mauer's a first ballot guy. I mean, forget about all the local connections, first rounder, St. Paul kid, all that stuff. That's all great anecdotally. His profile is bulletproof as a first rounder for me, as is Adrian Beltre, because when you get 3,000, you're in the building for me, unless there are some egregious character exceptions, and there have been for some.
Now, here's my argument for Utley real quick. Here's my argument. As a second baseman, I think he was a different player because of the power. You know, the power was different. The RBIs were different. So I think that's why he's in the conversation as a Hall of Famer. He defined the position differently, like Sandberg and like those guys before him. I still am mystified by Jeff Kent not being in.
That's the thing with me. You can't put Chase Utley in and not have Kent in first. And for 10 years, voters said no to Jeff Kent, which is unbelievable to me. But Utley was a little bit more of a darling as a player, a fan darling, a media darling. He played the overwhelming majority of his career with one team as opposed to Jeff Kent, who moved on every few years. For me, the first ballot guys that are locks are Mauer and Beltre. The holdover guys for me are Helton, Wagner, Sheffield. I have 5 on my ballot. I could be talked into more.
What about Carlos Beltran? You don't have Beltran in there?
I could be talked into it, but not first ballot.
No, but he's not first ballot anymore. Beltran's.
I think this is Beltran's first ballot, isn't it, JP? Second ballot.
And for me, along the lines of Beltran, objectively, one of the best switch hitters ever. In terms of power, more than 300 stolen bases. He drove in more runs than Mickey Mantle as a fellow switch hitter. And I acknowledge that the sign stealing scandal happened with the Houston Astros. He also, let's be real here, that cost him his job with the Mets, and that cost him getting in on the first ballot last year. From my standpoint, that happened in the last year, his age 40 season of his playing career. That is enough of a penalty for me. I mean, that is honestly, I voted for him last year. And so for me, that is history. That was 1 year of basically a 2-decade stretch in the major leagues. He has served whatever penalty existed. That's all behind us now.
Yeah, I could be
Look at his career.
I could be talked into Beltran. I could be talked into Utley. Jimmy Rollins for me is close too. I mean, if you had one between Rollins or Utley, this is a very unfair question. This is a polarizing question. If you had one vote and you had to pick between one of those two beloved former Phillies world champions, who would it be?
Rollins. For me, it's Rollins. Look at what he has done at the shortstop position. He's the only shortstop ever to achieve the levels that he did across the board in home runs, triples, and stolen bases. Those 3 levels, what Rollins did, no one has ever done that before as a shortstop. And the longevity, again, the games played, look at that. He was more dependably reliable in terms of his availability than Utley was. So yes, Utley had the power profile at second base, but Rollins had the better accumulation of games played and hits, and that unique profile, triples, homers, stolen bases for Rollins. He fits that description as well. And this also leads into a nice discussion at one of the final couple parts of my ballot, talking about players that were up the middle position players that had a unique profile. Both Andruw Jones and Torrey Hunter are on my ballot. Andruw Jones won 10 Gold Gloves in center field. 10. You know how many Torrey Hunter won?
10.
9. So he won 1 fewer. And think about this, Harold. I believe that Torrey has been overlooked, and I don't get it at all. He was the defining defensive player, one of the defining defensive players at any position for the first decade of this century, from 2000 till 2010. And he has just 1 fewer Gold Glove than Andruw Jones, who is really gaining a lot of momentum, plus the power that Torrey hit for. And listen to this, Torrey Hunter, 500 more hits than Andrew Jones.
That's a great argument. That is a great point. That's a mic drop right there. Yeah, I mean, that's another one. If you had only one to vote for and you had two great outfielders there, who would it be? I'm with you on Rollins, by the way. Love Chase Utley, but J-Roll's the guy.
I look
the
at
MVP,
Rollins and Utley like Whitaker and Trammell. If one is in, the other should be in.
All right, that's fair. That's fine. But
I don't know. I still think Lou Whitaker.
I like to play the what if game.
Yeah.
And it's unfair, but
great.
like for me, like Rollins, the MVP that's the one that makes it.
Hey, before we go, can we
he's an
put
MVP.
JP's board up there real quick, and then Matt can wrap this up?
Yeah. JP, thanks for sharing this, and we're going to be talking about this again for the next 2.5 weeks. We're less than 3 weeks away from Hall of Fame Day. This is JP's class of 10. He's a vote for 10 guy. I've got 5, and I could be talked into more, but for me, the locks, talked about it earlier. I'm pretty sure that, Mauer gets in this year. I'm very sure that Adrian Beltre gets in on the first ballot, and we'll see about the rest of the class.